So let's get started. So in 2017, there are a couple of different SEO trends that have been steadily building up over the past couple of years that are really coming to a culmination within this year. And these are things that you definitely need to be aware of. These are a couple of SEO trends that for some people might be common knowledge. For others, it could be completely brand new message that they've never really heard before, or really they don't keep their ear to the ground with Google. So this might be brand new information for them. So with that, let's go ahead and get going here. So my name is Matt Santos. I'm the Vice President of Products here at Foxtail Marketing. I've been in the SEO industry a little bit over 4 years now. I've been doing marketing for just around 5 years. So I've definitely had quite a bit of experience within the SEO industry, and I've seen a lot change within the past couple 4 to 5 years. And with that, there's been some trends, like I mentioned earlier, that we definitely want to look into. And a lot of this presentation is going to stem on the fact of mobile becoming a bigger and bigger factor within the SEO, as well as just the marketing industry as a whole. So with that, I just wanted to throw out a quick disclaimer for everyone and let them know that this webinar is with basically every other webinar that predicts the future. That should be just taken with a grain of salt. And no matter how authoritative and knowledgeable we at Foxtail might be on the subject, just make sure you do take some of these items with a grain of salt and figure out how you can implement them within your industry and within your product or your service. So really just try and figure out how you can kind of tie the two together. The main purpose of this webinar is really going to be to offer ideas and open just a constructive discussion around the future of SEO over the next 12 months within the year of 2017. As some of you may or may not know, year to year, things really do change within the SEO industry. 1 year within the SEO industry might be like 5 within any other. So things do move really quickly, and you definitely have to stay on top of your game in order to stay on top of the search results. A quick overview for this webinar. The time for planning and budgeting and really strategizing for your overall SEO success in 2017 is now. Don't push it to the end of Q1, don't push it to Q2. Definitely start strategizing on how you guys can take advantage of your SEO efforts and really try and figure out how you can best go about implementing your SEO efforts. And if you need some inspiration or some help setting up the priorities, we've just got a handful of tips within this webinar to share with you, and you're more than welcome to reach out to us after the webinar as well. So the overall flow of the webinar, I try to keep it to basically understanding the concept and then implementing those concepts and figuring out some action items for your business or for your website or anything along those lines. So the overall flow of this webinar will follow that structure right there. So the first item that I wanted to discuss with you guys, which I consider to be the biggest change within 2017 moving forward within the SEO industry, is the monumental shift from desktop first to mobile first. So let's go ahead and answer a couple of different questions that you guys might have in regard to that. So the first thing in understanding that first trend is that you have to understand that Google's rolling out a brand new index. The index is going to be called the Mobile First Index, and what this basically means is that Google will be completely revamping its search engine results pages to rank and show its search listings based on like the mobile version of your content on your website. Even if the listings that are shown are only to desktop users, they're still going to be the mobile result of the website. So that's a pretty big shift in how Google has indexed content and websites over the past 20 plus years. So this is something that you guys definitely want to consider when it comes to, is your website mobile friendly? Do you consider mobile first in perspective to campaigns that you roll out, in perspective to how you implement your content and showcase your website? So that's going to be pretty big. So the first question I wanted to kind of tackle with this is, what is basically changing with the Mobile First Index? I know we can say that a mobile website will be indexed versus the desktop version, but what does that really mean? So just to give you a little bit of background, mobile traffic has only continued to grow year after year since 2010. And because of this shift, Google wants its index and results to represent the majority of their users who are mainly mobile users. So I don't know if most of you may or may not know this, but last year mobile search did take over in perspective to desktop search. It's finally a 51 to 49% ratio as of last year, which is monumental. I don't know if many people would have guessed this 5-10 years ago, but mobile will continue to grow and continue to take over. Along with that, Google has really started to use the mobile version of the web as their primary search engine index. A search engine index is a collection of pages, documents that basically any search engine has discovered and has discovered by crawling the web through links. That's what a mobile or search engine index is. So Google has crawled the web from a desktop browser point of view for years now, basically since their inception. And ever since last year in their announcement towards the beginning of Q4, Google's going to be changing that to crawl the web from more of a mobile browser point of view, which will completely change how certain websites are indexed. So the next question I wanted to tackle was, what if you do not have a mobile website? Google has basically said you don't have to worry, but at the same time, you do have to take a couple things into consideration. So Google did also say if you have a desktop site, we'll continue to index your desktop site just fine, even if we're using a mobile user agent to view your website. So again, take that with a grain of salt, because if your desktop version of the website doesn't actually react well on mobile, that's going to hurt your search results, because again, nowadays search results are mainly predicted by user experience. If users aren't interacting with your website in the way that they should be, whether that be time on site, whether that be click-through rates, whether that be bounce rates, whether that be just flowing through the website in a natural fashion, Google's not going to rank your website high within the search results. So make sure that your desktop version of the website does look good on mobile. And although Google wants you to have the mobile website, again, it still will crawl your desktop version, so don't get too worried up front. But at the same time, if you do have a mobile website, then you need to make sure that the content and the links on the mobile website are similar enough to the desktop version so Google can kind of consume the proper content and rank your site as well as it did by crawling your separate desktop website. So again, just to reiterate that message there, if you do have a separate mobile version of your website from the desktop version, you'll just want to make sure that things kind of correlate between the two. It's not two completely separate websites. It's a mobile website that kind of gives a distilled version of the desktop version, because on mobile we just digest content completely different. We don't digest it the same way we do when we're on a desktop. The next question would be, your mobile website has less content than your desktop website. Should you be nervous? Potentially, yes. And what I mean by that is Google has says that it will look at the mobile version of your website, but if that has a considerable amount of less content on page A on the mobile side than the desktop version of that same page A, then Google will probably just see the mobile version with the less content there. This is why Google recommends you go with a responsive approach, which basically means you have one website, and when people go from desktop to mobile, it's just the page will respond accordingly. It won't take them to a different URL. It won't take them to a mobile subdomain. It's just the same website. It's mobile responsive, and basically with that, the content is going to be the same on a page-by-page basis from your desktop to your mobile site. And you can do the same with other mobile implementations, but there's kind of more room for error there. So if you were to just allow your website to be mobile responsive, and certain CMS platforms nowadays just kind of offer that by default. I know Wix and Squarespace and WordPress, they seem to be extremely mobile friendly without having to really enable too many settings or features within the CMS platform. So just kind of stay aware of that and try and figure out if your website is mobile responsive. And what about expandable content? So on a mobile interface, there might be a smaller section. You click on that section, it expands to more content. So how would Google kind of understand that and index that? Is it going to be a positive or a negative experience? What's kind of Google's take on it? Google has basically said that content hidden in tabs and accordions or expandable boxes and other methods wouldn't technically be weighted as high as content that's just shown on the page. But when it comes to mobile, it's said that content like this will be given full weight if it does a really good job in perspective to user experience. So if Google's noticing that people are definitely clicking on those accordions and popping out those tabs and really looking to digest content within those expandable boxes, within your mobile website, they're going to help you rank better, as well as take that content into full consideration. Where in the past, it was a mixed message from Google where they stated, if you have a desktop website and you have those expandable boxes and accordions and tabs, they're not going to be weighted as high. So again, that's a really good thing to do on mobile, is to have those expandable boxes and accordions. That's going to really help the user experience overall, because you don't want to just blast a ton of content and images on the page. Allow people to interact with the page and digest the pieces of content that they want to digest. So basically the idea is that expandable content will make more sense on mobile and not so much sense on desktop. And one of the last questions in perspective to this first trend is, will this change the Google rankings in a drastic way? So both Gary Iles and Paul Haar from Google said that this shouldn't change the overall rankings dramatically. Now, anytime Google makes a statement, I always take it with a grain of salt. So if Google wants to have a minimal amount of change in rankings, they're going to state that. But at the same time, with a completely mobile index, it's really going to change how websites rank, because not everybody has the best mobile website. Mobile first hasn't been a thought process for a lot of companies as of yet. It's still a concept that's just being birthed, and a lot of companies are starting to adopt it and really change their methodologies to be more mobile first, depending on the audience that they're targeting. But there should be some changes to rankings. I highly doubt that there won't be any ranking changes at all. But again, it is a little bit too early to tell. They did say that at some point within 2017, they're going to start splitting the index into the mobile first index. But at the same time, just keep in mind that you might be seeing some ranking changes depending on how well your mobile version of your website is built out. And so when will this basically roll out? When will it fully roll out? Google has said that they've already begun testing the mobile first index for some users and some queries, but it looks like we're still months away from the full rollout in perspective to all the different articles that I've been reading out on the web. Google definitely won't give us a definitive date because they're still testing the rollout. And as most of you may or may not know, Google doesn't just roll out something this monumental in a day or in a week or in a month. They always do it within certain little sections of their index. They'll kind of test it over time. And then as they see the results and they see that they haven't really broken anything within the Google index, then they'll eventually roll it out to the rest of the index. So basically, if things don't go well within these initial tests, they may push back the date of whenever they're thinking of launching it. But as of right now, it's not fully launched out. Google did also say that they'll push this out to more and more searches over time, just as they become more confident with that mobile first index. So it's definitely going to happen. It's a matter of some point of this year. So it kind of gives you a little bit of leeway to start considering your mobile website, start considering if it's mobile responsive, start considering the type of content you're going to promote on your mobile website, and if it really is mobile optimized and mobile friendly. And so in summary for this first trend, let's go ahead and talk some action items. So first things first is you definitely want to look into creating a mobile version with any of the possible formats. I mean, you can definitely do the subdomain version where it's m dot your URL, or you could go the responsive route, or you could go the adaptive route. If you wanted my recommendation, I would definitely go the responsive route. It sounds like the easiest out of all three because you really only are managing one website at that point, and whatever shows on your desktop will kind of show on your mobile version as well, but in a mobile friendly manner. It won't show in the exact same fashion. So definitely create a mobile version of your website, or optimize your current website or your current mobile website to really be a lot more responsive and a lot more mobile friendly. Second thing I would kind of take into consideration is make the content and pages presented both in mobile and desktop versions the same. So I know earlier we talked about desktop might have more content than mobile, or mobile might have a completely different feel than desktop. In all honesty, best recommendation I can give you is try to make a fluid experience for users across the board. Just make the mobile experience and the desktop experience in perspective to content and content digestion the same. Third thing I would definitely recommend is implement structured data on your mobile versions. And structured data, some of you may or may not be familiar with schema or rich snippets or any of those kind of buzzwords within the SEO industry, but schema and rich snippets are definitely used. It's proven. It's something that's going to help search engines understand your content and your images a lot better. So I would definitely recommend utilizing schema or rich snippets, whatever you may call it, within your website. Use it on the elements that you know users are going to interact with the most. So of course your name, your address, your phone number, your images, your graphics, your videos, your products, your pricing, your reviews, those different elements there, make sure that those are definitely optimized with some structured data. Fourth thing is eventually and hopefully just reconsider all the user experience and conversion optimization you offer on both desktop and mobile. So again, put the user above everything else. Don't put the search engine first. Think about how the user is going to interact with your website, whether they're on desktop or mobile. If you feel like the experience might be a bit clunky, might be slow, it might be a little bit hard to understand, it might be a little bit difficult to navigate, then you definitely want to reconsider that experience and optimize it. You want to make mobile and desktop seamless, and you also want to make it extremely easy for users to navigate throughout your website. You don't want users to bounce. And then last thing I would definitely recommend in perspective to the mobile first index and action item is going to be just rethink and plan a new link building strategy if you kind of have a separate m.mobile website. Again, the reason I point that out is because a lot of times people forget that they have a mobile version of a website that's completely separate from their desktop version, and they might build all of the links to their desktop version. That's going to provide zero value to your mobile version because it's completely separate. So make sure that you kind of incorporate that within your SEO strategy in perspective to link building when you're going out and building some of those organic links out there. Make sure that you're definitely keeping your mobile version in mind. The next trend that I wanted to go over is going to be the rise of Google AMP. And what AMP stands for is Accelerated Mobile Pages. This is a new effort by Google that came out towards the end of 2015, beginning of 2016. Google was kind of testing it, trying to figure out what type of queries they wanted to use it for. They wanted to figure out how the users would interact with these type of pages, and so they slowly started testing it throughout 2016. Now in 2017, they're pretty much rolling it out to a lot more sections of the Google index. So expect to start seeing some Google AMP within your search results. And so I guess some of you may or may not be asking, what exactly is AMP? Accelerated Mobile Pages, or AMP, are an open source protocol that allows webmasters to create pages capable of loading almost instantly on mobile devices. The idea is that a handful of simple structural changes to HTML and CSS can make your website load up to 4 times faster and use basically 8 times less data. So Google, again, mobile is the first thing here. And Google's understanding that more and more of its traffic throughout the day is being digested and used on a mobile device. And so the image there on this slide kind of shows you an idea of what some of these AMP pages will look like as you put in a query. So the example there is a query for Mars, and right at the top stories, those are all little AMP widgets. If you click on one of those, it'll immediately load the page on the right-hand side there. And in 2017, we really anticipate to see more favoritism for AMP in search results, with more brands kind of just taking advantage of that option. Again, it's just a way to make your pages load quicker, and everyone understands how impatient we all might be on a mobile device. So let's try and give users that best experience possible, which is the quickest experience. So one of the questions I want to try solving for AMP is, why is AMP a major project for Google? So like I mentioned before, this trend coincides heavily with the previous one where mobile has to come first. That's why Google decided to go ahead and create a mobile first index. But at the same time, since mobile does come first, they also wanted to figure out a way to make their content be able to be digested a lot quicker. So with that, today the expectation is that content should just load super fast and be easy to explore. The reality is just that content can take several seconds to load on certain websites, and because of that, users tend to abandon slow pages and never really allow pages to fully load. And so AMP is a solution for that. AMP pages are designed to load near instantaneously, which is amazing. And they are kind of a step towards a better mobile web for everyone out there. And that's Google's newest tone when it comes to their index, is really providing a better experience for mobile, because again, they understand that the world is moving more towards that mobile experience. So what are the benefits of AMP pages? How are they going to help you? What are they going to do for you? So again, speed matters, and instant is the ideal. Research has shown higher bounce rates associated with slower loading websites. So if you ever run your website through some page speed tools out there, like Page Speed Insights, which is a Google developer tool, or you might use Pingdom. There's a bunch out there, but if you're noticing that your website is loading slower than about 4 to 5 seconds, you definitely have to consider some image optimization, some site speed optimization, and really get your website performing at a much quicker rate. Using the AMP format will make it far more compelling for people to consume and engage with more content. So that's really how it's going to help your business. It's when people kind of click on your blogs, if that blog is going to take more than 4 to 5 seconds to load and they bounce, they're never going to digest your message. You're never going to reach that person. But if your website is optimized with AMP within the HTML and the CSS, then at that point, it's really going to allow people to consume the content. They're going to engage with it more because they're going to realize how quick your user experience is, and they're going to be more willing to interact with your brand over time. But again, AMP isn't just about speed and performance. Google also wants to promote enhanced distribution so that publishers can really take advantage of the potential on the web for their content to appear everywhere quickly. So Google has ideas for AMP to not only show up within the search results, but other places throughout the internet. And they want to kind of go across platforms and across apps eventually, which can really lead for your business. It can lead to more revenue via your ads and some of the subscriptions that you might have out there. So what type of content works best with AMP? The goal is for all published content, basically anywhere from news stories to videos to blog posts to photographs and GIFs, to really work using AMP. And with that, just kind of take into consideration all the mediums and types of content that you currently have or that you're currently promoting out there, and try to audit those now and figure out how quickly are they loading. Are there any issues with broken pieces of content or broken images or broken links? What's the user experience like? Are there the right calls to actions? Because all of that will play into accordance with kind of how users are interacting with your content. So some action items to take from this second trend of the accelerated mobile pages. So again, as for now, AMP is still within a young phase, and it's pretty experimental at this point. And again, like I say here, you might want to let the dust settle a little bit before hopping on board with AMP right this second. But however, if you feel like getting your hands dirty with AMP right now, there are a couple ways that you guys can take advantage of that immediately. If your website is built on WordPress, there is an awesome plugin called AMP WordPress. It's really easy to install, really simple to activate. The only thing I'm going to let you guys know as a quick disclaimer with that is, to make pages load quicker, you're sometimes going to have to strip certain elements from it, and those are certain graphic elements. So you're going to notice that when your page loads through an AMP optimization, it's going to look a little bit differently than if it loads on normal without the AMP optimization. So again, take that into consideration. And also, whenever you launch an AMP page, don't just launch it and allow it to be out there organically. You definitely want to test and validate that the pages are being indexed correctly, they're being found by Google, and that they're working. So the best way to do that is to implement Google Search Console. If you do have it, great. If you don't, I'd recommend going and getting an account with Google. It's completely free, same way Google Analytics is. Set up Google Search Console. Within Search Console, you can go to Search Appearance and then click on the tab that's labeled Accelerated Mobile Pages. And within there, there's going to be a couple of prompts for you to kind of test your AMP pages on your website, and it's going to give you ideas and action items on how to improve them, so you can definitely monitor them and measure them over time. The third trend that I wanted to discuss today within the SEO industry for 2017 is going to be the inevitable ascent of video. So some of you already know this, but video continues to dominate the world of content. more and more of us humans want to digest content as easy as possible, and video is sort of the medium that does that for us. Video really requires a minimal amount of brain power. It allows businesses to provide a bigger message without as many words, and it really allows you to really cast the net out there to all different types of audience members that you're trying to target. So with that, the consumption of video online is growing, even though apparently it's not really stealing time away from television as much, but people are digesting video more and more. So this graphic on the right-hand side here is kind of a graphic that shows time spent per day on video by adults in the United States by device. So TV, of course, is still dominating the amount of time that people spend, but video does continue to grow. As you can see, in perspective to 2011 all the way up to 2015, video continued to grow in perspective to time of consumption. So really take that into consideration when you are kind of mulling over your content strategy for 2017. Try to figure out a way to implement more video within your content strategy, or take your current content and figure out a way of how to migrate that into a video format. Also, along the same lines, things are looking different if we look at the generations over time. So if we were to look at certain generations within the United States of internet users by generation and device that they use. So here we're looking at these 4 devices of television, desktop/laptop, tablet, and smartphone. So as you look down on the right-hand side there, you're going to see that there's kind of 2 different categories of millennials, whether that be the 24 or 14 to 25 range or 26 to 31 range. There's the Generation X range, the baby boomers, and the seniors, which are above 68 years old. As we can see over time, their consumption of video has definitely grown. And not only that, but millennials really consume a lot of their video within the desktop to smartphone and tablet range. They aren't spending nearly as much time on television as the seniors and baby boomers do, because they're on their phones so much throughout the day. So really consider mobile and video together in unison when kind of thinking of your SEO strategy for 2017. One last graph to look over here, and this is just a final stat about what device is used the most for watching videos online. So as we can see, when we look at the dates between 2013 and 2015, there are several devices that people do use to kind of consume videos. Desktop and laptops still do dominate most of the market, but at the same time, we have seen a massive increase in smartphones and tablets being used. So again, consider mobile and tablet within your strategy there. So some action items that we want to look into are laptop and desktop are still the most used devices, but smartphone is quickly growing. Definitely consider that. The average age that kids start owning a smartphone today is around 10 years old, which is pretty astounding. Children from 5 to 13 years old, also people up to 20 years old, tend to be more visually connected than they are to text. And their influence on buying habits of their parents has been known for many years, and in 2012 it was equal to about $1.2 trillion in spending from kind of consuming videos and using smartphones and things of that manner. So again, Google needs to find new ways of monetizing videos because YouTube kind of isn't enough anymore, and Facebook is really starting to take advantage of that. I know last week Facebook did make an announcement in perspective to starting to incorporate mid-roll ads to their videos because they've realized that they've become the second biggest video consumption platform in the world. Of course, first is still YouTube, but Facebook has really grown to dominate the market, and they definitely want to start advertising and monetizing on those videos. So video is going to be a massive part of your SEO strategy moving forward. So the action items that we want to look at here are going to be, if you want to consider your 2017 SEO strategy, video does need to be a channel that you start exploring more seriously. The 5 things that you definitely want to consider for video are, number 1, go and create a YouTube page if you don't already have one. YouTube is going to be your biggest portal to promoting your videos, getting a lot of views to your videos. You can also do ads with your videos on YouTube. There's a lot that can be done on YouTube. Optimize your YouTube channel and the videos as much as you can. So YouTube is a search engine. Do take that into consideration. So with that, make sure that you're kind of same way you incorporate keywords and different concepts within your website, incorporate them into your channel, into your YouTube videos so people can easily find your videos. Begin looking for opportunities to create more visual pieces of content. So like I said, you guys can start from scratch in creating a brand new piece of content for 2017 that's really video focused. Or if you know through your data and through your analytics that there are certain topics and pieces of content that you've used in the past that can be easily converted to a video format, do that. Don't reinvent the wheel. There's no need to do that. So try and figure out how you can create more visual pieces of content. Fourth thing is to spread your visual content across all of your social channels. So don't just silo all of your videos within your website or within YouTube. Promote them through Facebook, promote them through Twitter and LinkedIn and Pinterest and some of these other social channels that allow audiences to quickly digest your video content. Don't sell yourself short on social media. That's a huge part of video and SEO. And the fifth thing is to start considering online video stars as much, if not more, as influencers, the same way that we consider bloggers as of right now. So some of you within your SEO efforts might do a lot of guest blog posting, might go out there and try and do influencer outreach and figure out who you guys can reach out to, how you can generate some good organic relationships and start to generate some links from that. But think of online video stars as the same way now in perspective to your videos. You can kind of contact them, ask them to help you promote your video, ask them to help shout out your brand or your video or your product or your service. Consider them in the same way that you consider the bloggers now that provide SEO value. They're going to definitely help bring more visitors and views to your videos and to your website. So the fourth trend that I wanted to discuss with you guys today is the fact that voice search is definitely the next big thing. Voice search is something that Google and other search engines are trying to figure out how they can best digest people's queries and really give them the best possible result for what they're speaking into the mic, I guess you can say. So with that, voice search has been an ongoing project for the tech industry for many, many years now. And in the process of working out the kinks, it's basically become one of the fastest growing search options because it is so easy to do. More and more of us are on the go throughout the day and don't really have time to pull out the phone and go to Google, type in our whole query, and then go search. So that's why the appeal is completely undeniable. It allows us to kind of just talk into our devices and receive the answer quickly or receive the search results in an even quicker fashion than typing it out. It's completely hands-free, it's fast, and it really is futuristic in a sense. So some of the things that have kind of come into play that have helped pioneer voice search are definitely wearable technologies. So some of you may or may not have Apple Watches. Some of you may or may not have some of the pendants and other pieces of wearable technology that exist out there, but all of those technologies are going to continue to help improve voice search. And over time, the error rate of voice search will continue to plummet. In a keynote speech back in 2017 at SMX, there was a gentleman by the name of Behshad Bahazi, and he noted that the speech recognition error rate has been reduced from around 25% 2 years ago to just 8% today. So that's a massive shift. So again, about 2 years ago, there was 25% error in search, voice search. Now today, there's really only about 8%. So that's going to continue to plummet over the years. So do take that into consideration. So here's a quick graph that kind of just depicts voice accuracy rates by platform within the last 4 years here, so between 2012 and 2016. So voice accuracy rates do continue to improve and at a pretty drastic rate. So the search engine Baidu, as you can see there, has definitely seen an increase. Google has probably seen one of the biggest increases, and then also certain other voice search and assistant apps have also seen an increase in accuracy in perspective to voice search. So these devices are only going to get better and better and better at digesting what we're saying and how we're saying it and the intent behind our words. So do take that in consideration when it comes to your SEO content strategy. Figure out how you guys can incorporate what people might be searching for in perspective to voice, and how your content coincides with that voice search. So what should you take into consideration for voice search? So it involves several changes to how you go about creating certain content. So for now, my recommendation would be these 4 bullet points, which would be go into your previous searches. So you can do this a couple of different ways. You guys can go into Google Analytics and go into some of your organic search traffic and really digest the type of queries that are coming in. Now, I know Google about 3 or 4 years ago did make a large portion of your traffic not provided or not set, which does make it a little bit difficult. But again, as I referenced before, if you do have Google Search Console, that would be a really good way to kind of go in there and digest some of the queries that people are finding your brand through. Also consider location-based context. So if you live in a specific city or in a specific town and you know that your town or city kind of speaks in a different way or references certain pieces of language in a different fashion, think about that when you're creating your content. Try and make your content match your location and how people talk within your location. Also try and give as much personalized information as possible. So again, don't make your content super broad and super general to everyone. Really consider your buyer personas when you're creating your content, and consider how they're going to search, how they're going to use their voice to search, and really make your content personalized to their voice searches. And the last bullet point there is kind of do keyword research based on spoken queries. So definitely use family members, use other coworkers, use any sort of outside resources other than yourself to ask them, if you were to find my website, what would be some of the spoken queries that you would use if you were to use either Siri or Cortana or the Google Now feature with the Google Assistant? What would be your thought process of going about structuring a voice query? And again, there's really no denying that voice search is one of the biggest trends of the digital age, with massive improvements to the 3 search engines, which are Siri, Google Now, and Cortana for voice search. You would be wise to really closely examine voice innovation and think beyond just text-based queries, because more and more searches are going to be conducted by voice, which is going to change how Google indexes certain websites, which again will affect your rankings. So really take that into consideration. So some action items that you can take from this 4th trend of voice search really starting to take over. First thing is know which search engine you're optimizing for. So understand that Google, Bing, Yahoo, they all function in a slight different manner. Really take into consideration which search engine you're going to put above the other one, and how you're going to build content for your users within that search engine, and how those users are going to interact with the search engine in perspective to voice queries. Second thing is this might sound a little bit out there, but if you spend some time and read the official user guides on how to use voice search, and you can find these all over the internet, they're going to give you ideas on how to kind of optimize your content for voice search and how to anticipate the different voice searches that might be used to find your website. So it's kind of an out-of-the-box way to figure out your content strategy there for voice search. Third thing is to understand the funny ways that people play with voice search. You got to understand that there isn't one way to say something. If you take a poll of 10 or 100 people and ask them to kind of voice their opinion or voice a question on something, they're all going to say something different. So again, play with those funny different ways that people are going to search for your website through using their voice. Fourth thing is to really listen to the way people reference you when they're speaking to you. So again, use real world situations when you're conducting business to really help structure your SEO content for 2017. Think about how people reference your brand. Think about how people talk about your product and how they reference your service, and the different words that they use. And take notes on this stuff and figure out how you can quickly implement this within your content, because if people feel like their voice is being heard and it's being matched within your content, they're really going to feel like they're being heard, and they're so much more prone to interacting with your brand at that point. Fifth thing is to use as many question phrases as possible, because voice search is predominantly question-based. So again, try and use FAQs, try and incorporate more question phrases within your content on your website. Really brainstorm the type of questions that people are asking to find your brand. Sixth thing is to, again, dive into your analytic data. Like I said earlier, Use Google Analytics, use KISS metrics, use all these different tools out there, as well as Google Search Console, to really figure out the different types of queries that people are placing into a search engine to find you. And with that, build upon those queries to make them into a little bit long tail or make them more voice specific. And the last thing, it sounds pretty simple, but just think like a human. At the end of the day, marketing is nothing more than human to human interactions. Whether it's business to business or business to consumer, it's still humans interacting with humans. And if you can think of it in that fashion, it's going to help you when you're going out there and structuring your content. Just remember that it's just humans out there that want to get a good experience, that want to get their problem solved, and how are you going to do that for them? Structure your content in that fashion. So with that being said, those are really the top 4 trends for SEO within 2017 that you need to be aware of. In summary, a lot of it is mobile related. And again, that has to do with the data. It isn't because Google and other search engines just want to make things harder. It's really the users predict the search engines nowadays. And more users are shifting to a mobile experience because they're either on the go or they just don't have time to interact with a desktop or a laptop, so they're going to hop on a tablet or a phone in a much quicker fashion and try and solve their problems immediately. So with that, really consider mobile. Consider the mobile first index. Consider AMP pages. Really consider video, because people on their cell phones don't want to read as much as they would on a desktop. They'd much rather just watch a video to give them the same message. And then lastly, really take into consideration voice search, because voice search is how a lot of people are starting to interact with their wearable technology and with their cell phones when they're interacting with search engines. So really take those things into consideration. You guys are more than welcome to email either Sarah or myself with any questions that you guys may have in perspective to some of the content that was presented today. I really do thank all of you for attending today's webinar. If you guys ever do need anything, Foxtail Marketing, we're really here to help anybody out. We're more than happy to consult and answer any sort of questions that you guys may have. And I really wish you guys the best in 2017 with your SEO strategies. Thank you so much.